بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. السلام علیک یا ابا عبدالله الحسین. دوستان و همراهان عزیز سلام. امشب دومین شب از ویژه برنامه محرم برای نوجوانان می باشد. همانطور که می دانید یک شب در میان در کنار شما خواهیم بود تا در این روزهای محرم به امام حسین فکر کنیم. به کار بزرگی که با شهادتش انجام داد و سرنوشت تاریخ را عوض کرد. در ابتدای برنامه امشب چند دقیقه به قرائت قرآن توسط دوستمان آقای سلمان دوستی گوش می سپاریم. سپس قسمت دوم تراژدی کربلا را با هم می بینیم. پس از آن از سخنرانی آقای سامر حکیم استفاده خواهیم کرد. در انتهای سخنرانی هم می توانیم سوالاتمان را بپرسیم و گفتگو کنیم.
First, Brother Salman recites some verses of the Quran. Next, we watch an episode of the tragedy of Karbala. After that, our guest speaker, Brother Samir Al-Hakim, will give a lecture. At the end of the lecture, we will inshallah have an online quiz. Please have your device ready for the quiz. The program inshallah ends by a dedicated Q&A section. Let us all listen to the Quran reciting by Brother Salman.
حالا از دوست عزیزمون آقای سلمان دوستی دعوت می‌کنیم که آیاتی از قرآن کریم برای ما قرائت کنند.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نون والقلم وما يسطرون ما أنت بنعمة ربك بمجنون وإنا لك لأجرا غير ممنون وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم فستبصر ويبصرون بأيكم المفتون إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين فلا تطع المكذبين ودوا لو تدهن فيدهنون ولا تطع كل هلاف مهين هماز مشاء بنميم مناع للخير معتد أثيم عتل بعد ذلك ذنيم أن كان ذا مال وبنين إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين سنسمه على الخرطوم إنا بلوناهم كما بلونا أصحاب الجنة إذ أقسموا ليصرمنها مصبحين ولا يستثنون فطاف عليها طائف من ربك وهم ناعمون فأصبحت كالصريم فتنادوا مصبحين أن اغدوا على حرثكم إن كنتم صارمين فانطلقوا وهم يتخافتون ألا يدخلنها اليوم عليكم مسكين فغدوا على حرد قادرين فلما رأوها قالوا إنا لضالون بل نحن محرومون قال أوسطهم ألم أقل لكم لولا تسبحون قالوا سبحان ربنا إنا كنا ظالمين فأقبل بعضهم على بعض يتلاومون قالوا يا ويلنا إنا كنا طاغين عسى ربنا أن يبدلنا خيرا منها إنا إلى ربنا راغبون كذلك العذاب ولعذاب الآخرة أكبر لو كانوا يعلمون إن للمتقين عند ربهم جنات النعيم أفنجعل المسلمين كالمجرمين ما لكم كيف تحكمون أم لكم كتاب فيه تدرسون إن لكم فيه لما تخيرون أم لكم أيمان علينا بالغة إلى يوم القيامة إن لكم لما تحكمون سلهم أيهم بذلك زعيم أم لكم شركاء فليأتوا بشركائهم إن كانوا صادقين يوم يكشف عن الساق ويدعون إلى السجود فلا يستطيعون خاشعة أبصارهم ترقهم ذلة وقد كانوا يدعون إلى السجود وهم سالمون فذرني ومن يكذب بهذا الحديث سنستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون وأملي لهم إن كيدي متين أم تسألهم أجرا فهم من مغرم مثقلون أم عندهم الغيب فهم يكتبون فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تكن كثائب الحوت إذ نادى وهو مكذوب لولا أن تداركه نعمة من ربه لنبذ بالعراء وهو مذموم فاجتباه ربه فجعله من الصالحين وإن يكاد الذين كفروا ليزلقوا بك بأبصارهم لما سمعوا الذكر ويقولون إنه لمجنون وما هو إلا ذكر للعالمين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد و آل
قسمت بعدی برنامه امشب یک کلیپ کوتاه با عنوان تراژدی کربلا هست. لطفاً این کلیپ را تماشا کنید.
Now let's all watch the second episode of the story of Karbala together.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
When the Imam alayhi salam announced that he was leaving Medina, the people of the city were struck with grief. They could not bear the loss of their dear Imam, who reminded them so much of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, in his appearance, manner, and speech. The Imam alayhi salam explained that the tyrant Yazid would not hesitate to make Medina a battlefield and kill everyone because of not paying allegiance to him. Therefore, he was going to Mecca for the pilgrimage. The Imam alayhi salam also knew during the Hajj season, more people would come from around the world. So he would take the advantage of this time to try and gather more support against Yazid. The caravan began moving and Imam Hussain alayhi salam bid farewell to the people of Medina. The people were weeping openly, wondering whether they would see him again. The whole empire was going through terrible times, and anyone who dared to say anything against Yazid was harshly dealt with. Yazid loved those worthless people who flattered him, and he made them as governors and leaders in the mosques. The chastity of women was no longer safe, with their dignity at the mercy of Yazid's brutal soldiers. Marriage lost its sanctity and protection to married women. At last, people could bear it no longer, and messengers began to come to the Imam alayhi salam with written requests to do something to defend the religion of Allah from getting lost and the people from going astray. Many of these desperate messages came from Kufa, begging Imam alayhi salam to come to their urgent aid. When Imam alayhi salam received these calls for help in Mecca, he had to respond. However, he could not blindly accept the call from Kufa because the people of that city were well known for their unstable character and conduct. Therefore, he decided to send an honest deputy to Kufa. The Imam alayhi salam sent his cousin Muslim bin Aqil to Kufa and asked him to report from there. Meanwhile, Yazid received news that the Imam alayhi salam was in Mecca for Hajj. He therefore paid big money for some men to disguise themselves as pilgrims and murder Imam alayhi salam, even if it was near the Holy Kaaba. At the same time, Imam alayhi salam received a letter from Muslim that it was safe for him to come to Kufa. He decided to leave for Kufa once Hajj was over. However, he found out that Yazid had sent people to kill him in Mecca. On the eve of Hajj, the Imam alayhi salam decided to change his intention to Umrah instead of Hajj and leave Mecca immediately. The reason for this was that he did not want bloodshed on the sacred ground of Mecca. In response to the call of the people of Kufa, Imam alayhi salam made his way towards that city. By that time, however, Muslim was in dreadful trouble in Kufa, where after being welcomed, he now had to fight for his very life.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل.
از این که تا این لحظه با ما همراه بودید سپاسگزاریم. تا لحظاتی بعد سخنرانی خواهیم داشت با موضوع چگونه از پیروان واقعی امام حسین علیه السلام باشیم. در انتهای سخنرانی مسابقه‌ای از مطالب بیان شده خواهیم داشت. اگر در حین سخنرانی سوالی داشتید می توانید در قسمت چت سوال خود را بپرسید یا حرف کیو را تایپ کنید تا در انتها به شما فرصت داده شود. همکنون از برادر بزرگوار جناب آقای سامر حکیم دعوت می کنیم که سخنرانی خود را آغاز کنند. بفرمایید.
Thank you everyone for staying with us so far. Next, we listen to the lecture by Brother Salma. The topic of the lecture is how to become a real follower of Imam Hussain. If you have a question, please either post it in the chat or leave a Q there at the Q&A section. At the end of the lecture, Brother Salma will inshallah go through the questions one by one.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Thank you first of all to the community for inviting me and to the MCs for the introduction and to Brother Salman for the recitation of the Quran. أحسنتم. أما بعد قال الله في كتابه الكريم Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his holy book وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزُوًا أُولَئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. Among the people is he who buys diversionary talk that he may lead people astray from Allah's way without any knowledge, and he takes it in derision. For such there is a humiliating punishment. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and thank you for joining us in the second episode for this Muharram. Now, before we start into this, in today's section, a jurisprudential question, which this ayah that we've just recited actually leads us to. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ. So there are people who buy diversionary talk. What is this diversionary talk? What is this diversionary talk that the ayah is speaking about? And the scholars have, can everyone still see me?
Yes. Yeah, all good. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I think I'm, okay, good. So the scholars have said that this is about ghina and laghu and stuff like that. So ghina has a very particular meaning in fiqh. So the question is music haram? This is a very common question. Whether you're living in Australia or Iran or anywhere else in the world, this is a very, very common question. Is music haram? Well, it's different ways to answering this question, because music in itself is not haram. So music is the release of sound from something. So it could be the birds, that they produce music, so that sounds to the ear of the human being. It could even be the bark of a dog, or the moo of a cow, or whatever it might be. That could be music, or the wind going through the trees. That could be music. There are musical instruments, and then there is singing. So people producing sounds from their throat to make it appealing to the ear of the human being, or to us. So, okay, so all of these things are considered to be music, but which one of it is haram? Which one of it are we not allowed? Which one of it is this ayah referring to? So the fiqhi item that restricts it and says that this part is haram is the one that is suitable for a majalis al-lahu, or venues where there is entertainment and amusement gatherings. Okay. And in Arabic, it's given a particular term, al-ghina. All types of al-ghina are haram. All types of ghina are haram, but usually what do we say? Ghina is singing. So does that mean that all types of singing is haram? No, this type of singing, the ghina that is in places of entertainment and amusement. Okay, so what does that mean? Is rap halal? No. Is R&B halal? Well, not in my opinion. Is funk? What about dance music? Techno, electro, boogie, afro, space, Italo? I don't know. There's lots of kinds of music out there, right? But these kinds of music are all kinds of music that are usually played in venues for entertainment and lahu, and for people to gather and, you know, dance and waste time. Now, something very important that I have to mention here: the jurists, the maraji', they will give you the principle. It's up to you to decide what the subject actually means. So this is called tashkhis al-mawdu'. So they will say that music or singing that is usually in places of entertainment and amusement is haram. It's up to you to then decide, okay, is this kind of music that I'm listening to haram or not? Is it going to be played in places of entertainment or not? And if in your opinion it is, then it's haram. If in your opinion it's not, then it's not haram. And we might have different opinions. But where we are now in Australia, I would say, in my opinion, all of the music that we hear on the radio, for example, I don't know if Double TFM and Fox FM and all these stations are still running in Australia, but if they are, the music that they play there are all kinds of music that are considered to be music for entertainment and amusement gatherings. Now, I usually look up and perhaps if the parents are listening, this is an exercise for you rather than for the children, but I usually look up, you know, the #1 song for this week. You know, this week ending the 24th of August, usually they have a chart and they say the #1 song in Australia is this. And to be honest with you, I've decided not to even mention the name of the song or who sang it or the single and where it's come from, because it's just so embarrassing. And if you read, I didn't even get to read the lyrics, but it was just from the title. But if you even look at the lyrics of the most popular songs that we might be listening to, or our children might be listening to, or you guys, if you're listening to, think about it, and then think about this ayah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ, right? Diversionary talk, things that are batil, they're not even true. We'll start to understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to leave this music and these songs, because it takes us away from the true goal that we have and from the heroes that we have as role models, such as Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And even if you read the next ayah, this is Surah Luqman, Surah number 31, ayah number 6. And if you read in ayah number 7, it says, and you'll find that in our society, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا وَلَّا مُسْتَكْبِرًا. And if we recite, or our signs are recited to them, the Holy Quran is recited to them, they turn away disdainfully. It's like, you know what? I don't enjoy the Quran. It's just something, you know, I don't enjoy it. I don't know. I like this song, this kind of music. So we start to negotiate with our ears and justify not listening to the Quran for the sake of other things. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Okay, back to the main talk. So yesterday we spoke about this ayah, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ittaqullah wa qulu qawlan sadida, and we spoke about honesty and how important that is. We spoke about a narration from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who says Imam Hussain is a door from the doors of heaven alayhi salam. Today's narration from the Prophet also sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says Inna al-Hussain ibn Ali fi samawat a'zamu mimma fil ard. Certainly Hussain, the son of Ali alayhi salam, is greater in the heavens than he is on earth. Now think about that for a minute. He had, 57 years of life, 10 years of imamate. He did a lot of work in his life. And perhaps there are a lot of meanings to this narration, but one of them is possibly that even when he is gone from this earth, and he's not dead, we don't believe that he is dead. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا, right? So, and don't count the people who have died in the way of Allah, in the cause of Allah, فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, as they died, يُرْزَقُونَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, right? So they are being nourished, they are being sustained with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's definitely not dead, but he is in the heavens. He is greater in the heavens than he is on earth. And look at that. For 1400 years, almost 1400 years, and he still has an effect. I'm going to just divert for 1 minute. I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story about Santa Claus and Easter bunnies. Since we were on, I mean, I don't know how many people here have actually grown up in Australia, been born in Australia perhaps, or in the West. But if you've grown up in Australia, you'll see that your friends around you, they all believe in Santa Claus, they all believe in Easter bunnies. They all believe that, you know, in Easter, the bunnies lay eggs and we have to go hunt for them. And so Santa Claus actually comes down the chimney on Christmas Eve to give you presents if you are good all year. But if you're bad, he won't. And they believe it. They really actually believe it. And the parents, if you, for example, if I go and tell a child, for example, oh, look, Santa Claus is not real, they get offended. It's like, what? Why'd you tell my children this? This is, you have no rights. And they will live this lie until they find out at school, sometimes even in high school, when their friends tell them that, you know, Santa Claus doesn't really exist. It's your parents that were putting the gifts under the Christmas tree. You know, it's your parents that put the Easter bunnies or the Easter eggs around the backyard so you can chase them. You know, all the schools and all the kindergarten years and all the high school years and primary school years and all these years, it's like, it's psychological torture, really. It's really a form of torture because all your life, you've lived a lie. And these children, they were like, and this is deliberate, by the way. This is actually a deliberate move to remove all forms of faith and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, and in people like Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Ahlul Bayt. How is that? How is that? Well, if all these years I believe that Santa Claus exists and he doesn't, and now all that faith is shattered, and then I go up to you and I say, listen, there is a greater form in this world called God, and he created everything. It's like, oh yeah, heard that before. He gives me gifts too, yeah? Yes, yarzaquka, he gives you sustenance. Yes, he does. Oh yeah, and he doesn't give me any gifts if I'm bad, right? Yeah, he does. How do you know that? I heard of him, it's called Santa Claus. No, he's God. It's like, oh, it's just another name. I don't believe that anymore. You've tricked me for I don't know, 10 years of my life, 15 years of my life, tooth fairies and Santa Claus and Easter bunnies and elves and dwarfs and I don't know what. Nah, you see that? You no longer believe in a God, let alone in, if, for example, you speak about Imam Ali alayhi salam and his bravery and how he pulled off the door from the wall of Khaybar when 40 men can't even lift this heavy door. Single-handedly he lifted it and he fought using the door as a shield. Yeah, right. Superhero. Superman, right? Superman doesn't exist either. Okay, what about Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Karbala, 72 versus the thousands that were fighting. And Imam Hussain and Ali al-Akbar and Abbas alayhim salam, they were fighting and they were killing and they were destroying the enemy until the very last. Oh yeah, nice story. Make a movie out of it. Brother and sister, these are real stories. The bravery of Imam Hussain alayhi salam is real. But see what happens in our life, in our earlier life. We're traumatized into believing that Santa Claus exists when he really doesn't. And then the real becomes unreal and the unreal becomes real. And we start watching movies and fantasies and we enter that world and we leave the world of reality. Now, back to the bravery of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. I'm going to share my screen and inshallah this works. So if I go share my screen, I want to just show you quickly. Can everybody see my screen? Just a yes or a one on the chat, just so I can
Yeah, we can see that.
Thank you. So what are we talking about? We are talking about Imam Hussain and the lessons that he has to give us as human beings. So this human, this is me, this is you, this is, you know, Salman and Wahid and I don't know, Mubina, everyone, Ali and Muhammad, and all of you guys. We are divided into three different parts or three different forces within our bodies. And one of them we said was anger. And we were talking about anger being funneled and used correctly so that we can get to this bravery. And this is actually what we're talking about. Inshallah, tonight we'll finish off the other three, inshallah, parts of bravery. And in the next two nights, inshallah, we'll talk about desire. So this is just giving you a roadmap as to where we are. And how, if we funnel that desire correctly, we can actually get to piety. And then finally, intellect is another force that helps us or that controls what we do. And this intellect leads us to wisdom. And inshallah, that will be the last session that we have with you. So we will and have been speaking about bravery. We will be speaking about desire and piety in the next two sessions, and then finally about wisdom and intellect. Okay, so back to me. All right. So the first part of the roadmap was honesty. We spoke about that already. We spoke about patience already. And tonight, inshallah, we'll be speaking about three items. Telling the truth at the peak of anger, number one. Not being an oppressor at the peak of power, number two. Not sinning when you are able to sin, number three. So let's have a look at number one. In the narrations, it says that قال أشدكم وأقاكم الذي رضي إذا رضي لم يدخله رضاه في إثم ولا باطل. We'll talk about that later, but this one here إذا سخط لم يخرجه سخطه من قول الحق. So I'll translate the whole narration and then we'll break it down. The strongest and firmest amongst you is the one who, if contented, is not content with what is sinful and falsehood. But my shahid is here. This is what I want to talk about right now. And if he is angered, his anger does not take him away from telling the truth. Honesty. Honesty is an attribute and a sign of bravery. So sometimes we get angry with our friends, with our parents, with our spouses, with our teachers, with our mentors, with our karate teacher. I don't know. I wouldn't get angry at your karate teacher, but you know, you get the point. If you get angry, usually what happens is that you start making things up and saying things that you would otherwise not have said before. this anger actually takes away from your intellect, right? Remember the three? Intellect on one side, desire on the other, and anger in the middle. You get angry, takes away from the intellect, and it pushes you towards desire. So why would you get angry? Somebody told you off, somebody proved you wrong. You stop thinking intellectually, you start thinking through your desires, and you start thinking, oh, I don't want to be proven wrong. I want to be proven right. And even if I'm being proven wrong, I'm going to justify it somehow. So you stop thinking, you get angry, and you start making things up. You start saying things you would not like to have said if you were calm. And you might even start saying things that would hurt the feelings of the other party. You might say something that would hurt your parents, God forbid. Right? In the Quran, we have four verses that says after Tawheed, you need to obey your parents. And you can't even say, Allahu Akbar. How many times do your parents say, can you please get me a glass of water? And you say, can you please do your homework? Can you please do your own? Can you please get up so you can go to school? You can't do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says after Tawheed, you need to respect, obey your parents, be good to them, ihsan. As-sabru ra'sul iman in the narrations we have. Patience is the head of your faith. And even it goes as far as saying, as-sabr, your patience to iman is like the head on a body. What happens when you detach the head from the body? The body dies, right? What happens when you detach sabr from your iman or from your faith? Your iman goes. So that's problematic. So what can we do to control our anger? Well, one of the best recommendations is to change where we are, what we're doing, why we're doing something, just change something in the environment. For example, when you get angry, I'm going to list a number of things that you can do. You can sit down if you're standing up. You're angry with your friend, you're on the playground, you're fighting it out, sit down. He'll look at you, probably the other guy, and say, okay, I'm going to sit down too. So, okay, sit down. Let's talk this over. Go drink some water. Go eat something. Or have a shower. Cool things down. Have a cold shower. Go do ablution or perform wudu. See, that cools down the face and the arms, and you're wiping your head, and you have to take your socks off and your shoes off, and you have to wipe your feet. You're changing everything here. You can walk away from whatever the situation is. Look, I just need a minute. I'm going to go to the restroom, perform your ablution, and I'll come back to you. We'll talk then. Recite Quran, or even recite a dua. See, I've listed 8 things there, and the final thing is the 9th. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin. Okay? O you who have faith, take recourse in patience and prayer. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. Go and pray. Do rukat. You don't have qada, it doesn't matter. Do rukat shukr. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. I'm just going to pray to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings that I have. I'm just going to pray because I want to do ita'at to Allah and not be angry. Whatever your intention is, just go pray. What are you going to do when you go pray? You're going to walk away. You're going to go to the restroom. You're going to wash your face. You're going to wash your arms. You're going to do all the ablutions. Cool yourself down. You're going to recite Quran. You're going to recite dua in your qunut. Look how many things you've done just by doing one thing, prayers. So next time you get angry with your friends or with your brothers or with your parents or with your schoolmates, whatever it is that might be, remember Imam Hussain alayhi salam and how he controlled his anger in the battlefield. At the peak of his trials and tribulations, he didn't kill the commander of the enemy. He said, go. Imam Ali alayhi salam, in the battle of Khandaq, when the enemy came and crossed that Khandaq, that big barrier that they placed so that they couldn't cross from one side into Medina, and he had the enemy down. He didn't want to kill him. Now, some say because he didn't want to kill him in anger, or some say that he didn't want to kill him as if he was killing him in anger, so he walked away. Because he spat at Imam Ali, alayhi salam. So he walked away. He came back and he calmly finished him off to show that he wasn't angry. He was only doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all I'm doing. Everything I do, everything I say, everywhere I go is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I obey my parents for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I stand up for what is right and forbid what is evil for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I recite Quran for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do this all because Imam Hussain alayhi salam has taught me patience. And who is Imam Hussain alayhi salam? He's my hero. We're running out of time. Not being an oppressor at the peak of power. This narration is the same narration that I recited. It's in من لا يحضره الفقيه وإذا ملك لم يتعاطى ما ليس له أو وإذا قدر لم يتعاطى ما ليس له بحق. They all give this. They both give the same meaning. That one who gains power. Here you go. I am now in power. I am the director of this massive company, and I can very easily take $100, $1,000. I can take a pen. I can take a book. I can take notepads. I can take stuff that don't belong to me. Nobody will say anything because I'm in power. How dare you say it? I'll fire you if you say anything. You're talking to me? You're fired. If you're in power and you can do this, but you don't see, that is the best of you. That is being brave. That's being brave. It can be difficult because, you know, what we see in both the East and the West. And some people, what they say is, look, you know, I don't like Iran, I don't like Iraq, I don't like Afghanistan, I don't like Pakistan. Why? Because there's lots of briberies and everybody's stealing. Okay, what, you think it doesn't happen in where we're living, in America, in UK, in Canada, in Australia? It does, except there's a difference. They all do the same thing. They all stretch their hand. I'll go into the camera. They all stretch their hand as far as it can go into the pockets of the person next to them, into the pocket of the poor man sitting on the street. They'll stretch their arm as much as they can go, as long as they do it legally. So in the East, they might call it bribes. In the West, they call it, you know, handling fee, or they'll change the law to find loopholes so that you can, you know, create loopholes and pay no tax. For example, why are the poor people paying taxes when the richest of us, of the community, I mean, the richest people in, for example, Australia, America, they have, I don't know, tax holidays, and they have companies offshore so they don't pay any taxes and stuff like that. The problem. Okay, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The third thing that we want to talk about today is when Abel does not do sin. This is actually going to lead us into tomorrow's session, inshallah. It was the first part of this narration. الذي إذا رضي لم يدخله رضا في إثم ولا باطل. The one who is content, he's not happy with something that is sinful or false. Okay? He's not happy with these things. He's happy with the truth, with halal. But I want to tell you something. A wall cannot see, right? Can you call a wall blind? No. Can you call a wall, you know, an angel because they don't sin? No, because a wall cannot sin. Can you call a blind person who doesn't see bad things or haram things as someone who is, you know, very muttaqi and pious and chaste because he doesn't see these things? No, he can't. It's when we can. So the title here is when able to do sin, he does not, or she does not. And in Australia, and I'll be talking about this more, in Australia and America, even, you know, in places like Iran, it can be difficult because there are sinful things that are attacking you left, right, and center. You look up, there's a picture. You look down, There's something else. You look to the side, there's something else. You know, you go to school, it's very hard. So the bravest of us, and if we want to be brave like Imam Hussain alayhi salam, who is our hero and our superhero, a true hero, a real hero, one that actually exists, one that taught us how to be brave, not like Santa Claus or Easter bunnies or dwarves and things like that. They don't exist. We're talking about Spider-Man and Batman and the Hulk. I'm talking about someone who is real, who's teaching us how to be brave. Okay? So one more thing. I think I've got a few more minutes left. One piece of advice I want to give each and every one of you, either as a child or a youth that is going through, you know, turbulent times in this day and age, and there are turbulent times. Bangladesh, Vietnam, Africa, yes. And to parents and to yourself, don't test yourself. Okay? I've learned this through experience, and then I found it also in the Holy Quran. Don't test yourself. Don't think to yourself, I'm gonna go there, but I'm not gonna look because I'm strong. I'm not gonna go there, but I'm gonna go there, but I'm not gonna drink. I'm gonna go there, but I'm not gonna listen. I'm gonna go there, but I'm not gonna touch. I'm not gonna taste. I know I'm going somewhere where, you know, you could do haram. I'm not gonna do it because I'm strong. For the last 2 weeks, I've been very good. Don't test yourself. This is in fact one of the خطوات الشيطان. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان. O you who have faith, enter into submission altogether and do not follow in Satan's steps. Why is it called خطوات? Because it's one step after the other. Satan is not going to go and say to you, go watch this really bad movie, listen to this really bad song, go and do this really big lie. He's going to go, let's go out. Let's go with our friends to this movie. We haven't decided what movie we're going to watch. I don't even know. I'm not even going to tell my parents. It doesn't matter. I'm sure it'll be okay. خطوات. This is one step. The next step, you're looking at the list of movies and your friends are choosing something. It's like, oh, can we choose something else? It's like, no, okay. Here, I've come out here all the way. I might as well just join in, right? See these steps, step by step, they take. So don't test your friends, don't test yourselves, don't test your parents, and parents, don't test your children. Be as honest as possible with them. What are you doing? I'm going to go see a movie. Okay, what movie are you watching? Oh, I don't know. How about you decide before you go? It would be much better for you and for us. It would be better. So as I wrap up, okay, we're going to wrap this up. The bravery of Imam Hussain and how we can be the real followers of Imam Hussain is to be brave ourselves. Okay, how are we going to be brave? There are 5 things that we listed. We don't have the opportunity. We weren't there 1400 years ago to fight with him. How are we going to be brave today? We're going to be honest, definitely honest. We're going to say the truth at all times. We're going to be patient. We are going to be telling the truth even at the peak of anger. And if we can't, we will walk away until our anger goes down. We will not oppress when we are at the peak of power. And we will not sin even if we are able to. Our role model is Imam Hussain alayhi salam, a real role model, one who is from us. And brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. He is our grandfather, right? Because Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, abawa hadhihi al-ummah, right? They are the fathers of this ummah. Imam Hussain is the son of the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. So he's our grandfather. We can take an example from him and we can take lead from them. Brothers and sisters, please one salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And we're going to have a quiz. Inshallah, let me just post the link for the quiz.
Excuse me, Brother Samir, thank you so much. You want to answer the questions
Yes.
now or
If
after
you
the
can,
quiz?
in the meantime, yeah, if you can, in the meantime, just find the link and paste it in the chat. I'll go through the questions and have a look. Okay.
I'm just reading
Does
the
the
order
person?
based on the order. Yeah. Just the first one I think
Okay.
is Hussein or M1 twin. something.
The first one I can see is Ali Ramazani. That's the person who sang. Is that okay?
Oh no,
Is that the right one?
no. I think the first one is M1 twin. He had a
Okay.
question. Let me unmute him, and then Ali Ramazani, and then Mirza.
Can you read it out to me because I can't see that first one that you're talking about.
Is owning a dog haram?
Okay. We're going backwards. Okay, no problems. Is owning a dog haram? Well, it's haram to buy and sell a dog unless there are specific reasons. So, for example, if the dog is for hunting, you can trade with that dog. However, otherwise, for that's an example. There are 2 or 3 very specific examples where you can trade a dog. Owning a dog is not really haram in itself, right? It's a creation of God, and mashallah, they're very wafi. They're very loyal creatures, alhamdulillah. The problem with owning a dog is that they are aynun najasa. They are najis, every part of them. The hairs, the bones, the nails, the tongue, the eyes, the ears, everything about them is najis. So that's the problem with owning a dog. And then we go into fiqhi issues like, okay, I can't trade a dog because it's haram. So how do I then give him money to take this dog off him? It's called raf'ul yad, right? So you don't own the dog as per se, but what you do is you have control over this dog. Yaduka alayh, right? Your hand controls the dog, not that you own the dog, right? You don't own the dog because you can't own something that's najis. Kind of like owning something that's, I don't know. Think of something else that is najis. Can you own it? No. So owning a dog in itself is not haram, but you just have control over it through your hand. And the other thing you need to consider is the najasa concept, right? So you'd have to change your clothes, you'd have to change everything, wash your hands a number of times. If they touch a plate, and you want to purify that, that's a long process. It's a very long process, but in of itself is not haram. What if your rights are being abused and you have no food to eat? Can you then steal in order to survive? Bangladesh, Vietnam, Africa. Okay. Okay, so this is a good question. In Islam, if there are particular circumstances, you know how in Islam they say there are certain punishments for stealing. Well, you can only apply these certain punishments if and only if all the conditions are set. So if for example, someone is really poor and they steal an apple, you can't punish them because they need to eat, and we are failing them as a society. So if you're really, really poor and you have nothing that you can do to be able to feed yourself, and you end up stealing, now you've done a sin, but you've had to do it out of darar, Islam cannot punish this person. The society has failed this person. But I just want to mention something as well. For example, you mentioned Africa. Africa is actually a very rich country. Unfortunately, the resources are being taken away from Africa via the other so-called powers. So they shouldn't be this poor. But anyway, that's another political issue. Question. So with explaining the story of Imam Hussain alayhi salam to those who don't believe, is there actually a way to do so, maybe gradually without them thinking you're crazy? I'm assuming this is in regards to Santa Claus. Yes, there is. You can introduce him. Obviously, this is a very long story, so I can't answer it, but yeah, look, this is going to take a while to answer. I'm actually doing a session tonight with another group, how to introduce Imam Hussain alayhi salam to non-Muslims or to those who don't believe in the Ahlul Bayt, for example. So if you like, I can send you the link and maybe you can share it in the group. Okay, so دفعه پیش مدیریت کرد من دیر وصل شدم سوالها رو نمیبینم.
Sorry, the last message. Does the person who sang it sang?
Yes. Does the person who sang the song and his beliefs impact whether a song is haram or not? The person who sang the song and his beliefs. Okay, so there's different ways we can look at this question. So let's say, I don't know, who's popular nowadays? Taylor Swift, is she popular still? I don't know. Michael Jackson, he's dead, I think. I don't know. If he sang it and he thinks that singing these songs are okay, does that impact on it being haram for me? For me as a listener, no, it does not. You have to decide for yourself whether that's haram or not. The other way to look at this question is, if I was to sing a song that I believed was halal, does that make it haram or halal? Well, this is where tashkhis al-mawdu' comes. This is where you have to identify the subject. The scholar will tell you that if a song is to be sung in an entertainment or an amusement location, then it is haram. And you think to yourself, I don't think this would be appropriate in such a place, then for you it would be halal. For me, it might not be. I'll give you another quick example. For me in Iran, to drink out of a cup that takes the shape of a wine glass, for me is haram. Why? Because I know what they use that for. But for someone who lives in Iran, perhaps it's not, because they just consider it to be a form of elegance. So for me in Iran, I don't drink, even though that's, perhaps that's the only thing that's available. I wouldn't drink from that. But to them, it's halal because it's elegance for them, for example. So see how the one subject can be different for two different people. Same thing with music here. Now, what if the guy is singing is always drunk or always taking drugs? Well, I wouldn't listen to his songs. So what if you think the listening to rap is okay? Does that add? The narration, who is the strongest and firmest man? 1, who doesn't change the rules to suit himself. 2, who doesn't seek for power. 3, who tells the truth even at angriness. And 4, who tests themselves for not doing sin. So the correct answer would be, who tells the truth even at angriness. What is the head of Iman, your belief, your faith? And the correct answer is patience. I think most of us would have got that right. What can we do to control our anger? We can drink water, yes. We can pray, yes. We can walk away and come back to restart, yes. All of the above, yes. So the correct answer is all of the above. What is the main characteristic of a brave man? A characteristic is when angry does not say falsehood, yes. When in power does not take what is not theirs, yes. And when able to do does not sin, yes. So it must be all of the above, the fourth option. Question number 8, which one is acceptable at the peak of power? Being an oppressor? Oh God, no. Change the rules to suit ourselves? Not at all. Bribery? Nope. So it must be none of the above. What can we do to avoid sin? We can test ourselves, and my advice is not to do that. Test our friends. Again, please don't try. Don't follow Satan's step. Don't follow Satan's step. Definitely don't do that. What can we do to avoid doing sin? What is the answer to that question? We shouldn't test ourselves. We shouldn't test our friends. And we shouldn't follow Satan's... do not follow Satan's steps. Yes. Okay. So that's the correct answer. Sorry. I misread that. So do not follow Satan's step is the correct answer. Getting hot. Why is Imam Hussain alayhi salam our hero? Because of his honesty, because of his patience during difficult times, or because telling the truth at the peak of anger, or all of the above? And the correct answer is all of the above. Well, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. I think, I hope you enjoyed it. Inshallah, anyway. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
Thank you everyone for attending tonight's meeting. This was the end of our meeting for tonight. Inshallah, our next program will be on Tuesday, 6:45 p.m., same Zoom link. See you all then. Goodbye.
مع السلامة everyone.
از همگی تشکر میکنم که در برنامه امشب شرکت کردید. برنامه امشب ما همینجا تمام می شود. انشالله برنامه بعدی ما از طریق همین لینک سه‌شنبه شب ساعت 6:45 عصر